Tonight we shall be looking at two issues, starting from the back. Issues of peace and harmony for national development in our second leg of the discussion. The first leg will be on strengthening the security architecture in the country, looking at the federal government's interventions in this regard. In doing this, we shall be dotting the landscape of the country from Maiduguri, Port Harcourt, Lafia, that is Nasarawa State, and a couple of other centers for updates on what the strides have been regarding strengthening the security architecture in Nigeria. When we talk about security, we're not just looking at maintaining law and order or onslaught against insurgency. Security cuts across. You can even talk about environmental security. We will also beam our searchlight on efforts of the security agencies in tackling insecurity and other criminalities to make the nation a safe haven. You will get first-hand reports from parts of the country on the gains so far and projections, as I've said earlier. It's well-known fact that secure environment guarantees peace and sustainable development, which the relevant bodies are committed to. Well, the background of is not ready. When it is ready, we'll take it on the program. Well, Tuesday Live is an audience participatory program. At some point, the phone lines will be open to you. Make your calls, raise your concerns, and ask your questions. Also on the social media, our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA is open. Send your questions, send your tweets to our handle, and our team of guests will address them. Tonight on the program, we have the Chief of Civil Military Affairs, Major General Mohammed Shehu Musa. Good to have you on the program.
Yeah, thank you so much, and it's a pleasure.
Deputy Inspector General of Police in charge of Research and Planning, Babatunde Ogun Yowo. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Nigerians.
Deputy Controller General of Customs, Human Resources Development Department, Sanusi Omar. Good to have you on the program.
Thank you. Good evening, Nigerians.
Strengthening the security architecture in Nigeria. Let me go generic. If you take a look at my guest tonight, we have protecting the nation's territorial integrity. We have protecting the security, internal security and lives and property, the police, and also gatekeeping the borders of Nigeria in terms of imports and exports, name it, the customs. So generally, let me go around, starting with Major General Mohammed Shehu Usman. Can you give us a generic picture regarding the security architecture in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, where we are now?
Okay, thank you so much, Omini, and it's a pleasure to be on the program this evening. I want to respond to your question by just looking at the aspect that concerns the armed forces. I want to say that the armed forces, it's doing its best in terms of maintaining the territorial integrity of the country, because that is our primary responsibility. And the major preoccupation of the military in the past few years has been tackling insurgency and terrorism, specifically in the northeast of the country. And so far, so good. The military has been doing its best, and so far we have done a lot. We have achieved so much successes, and we hope that in not too distant future we'll be able to bring the insurgency to a conclusive end. All over the country, yes, there are security challenges like banditry in the northwest, issues of banditry in the north central, oil theft and other forms of criminality in other parts of the country. We are collaborating with other security agencies, especially the Nigeria Police and other security agencies, to ensure that we do our best and come in aid of civil authority and ensure that most of these issues of criminality are brought to a conclusive end. So it's still work in progress, and primarily we are concerned with external threats to the country, but of course, as part of our secondary roles, which is what we are doing mostly these days, we are coming in aid of the police and other security agencies to ensure that we tackle many of these threats to security. That's just the much I can say for now.
Just quickly, just to clear the air.
Okay.
A couple of hours, a couple of days, we heard so much about the strides recorded in Yobe State, Damaturu.
Okay.
As much as we followed the trend, we heard so much, a lot of news, truth, fake, all that. What's the update regarding the the recent developments in Damaturu, Yobe State.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, there was reports of attack in Damaturu, Yobe State on 23rd. That's the first day. And what essentially happened was that the Boko Haram insurgents came into, they tried to infiltrate into Damaturu. And based on intelligence and information we had, our troops were ready for them. And we tackled them headlong, and we dealt with them squarely. And the result of the encounter was that 31 of them were killed, including the commander, the person who led the operation, the insurgent that led the operation, one of their commanders. And we were able to destroy 3 of their gun trucks and recovered a large cache of ammunition and some of their weapons. So on our own side, we only had, it was a very successful operation because only 3 of our personnel were wounded, no casualty on the part of the civilians and the soldiers. So from the encounter, I can say that it was successfully repelled, and we gave them a very bloody nose.
So the negative picture painted is the other way around, right?
You know, usually when issues like this come up, the tendency is that you get a lot of information, rumors flying around, and if you are not patient enough to get information from the correct source, from the right source, you might be tempted to get fake news and information. So, but if you are patient and you get the correct information from us, and you actually get the true situation of what actually transpired. And that is essentially what is happening all over the theater. You know, the media sometimes, they tend to overblow some of these issues out of proportion. The first thing they tell you is that, oh, attack happened, so please, many killed. At the end of the day, by the time you go into the whole nitty-gritty of the whole situation, you discover that probably maybe 1 or 2 persons were killed, and the whole thing, maybe they have their own interest wanting to sell news or sell their papers, and we have our own interest in trying to ensure that we reduce fear and apprehension to the barest minimum, and ensure that panic is reduced to the barest minimum. And so most times when information filters out, you need to be very circumspect and be patient, and I'm sure you get the information from the correct source. And oftentimes they're always on the losing side, and we always have the upper hand. That's just the truth.
Okay. Well, let me go to DIG Babatunde. A couple of days from today, the Nigeria Police Force played host to Mr. President from the Police Academy, and the following day, Mr. President commissioned a huge paraphernalia of security assets of the Nigeria Police Force. But some persons still view that all that appears a smokescreen. True or false?
Well, that can be true. It's all an attempt to strengthen the security architecture. 628 cadets, second batch of our graduate students were passed out, and when you have new officers passed out, that means you are restricting your capacity. Then the other one on 28th, the president actually came to commission some vehicles, close to 200 of them, fitted with state-of-art equipments to do surveillance and to curtail riots where necessary. And they are all expected to be deployed during this Christmas and New Year. Already some have been deployed to Abuja-Lokoja Road, Abuja-Kaduna Road, Nasarawa Road, and we expect that Nigerians are going to have a positive effect of that commissioning the president did.
Okay, let me hold it there. The customs have been all over in the news since, in short, the customs became very much available since the closure of land borders in Nigeria, the extension up until now. Where are we with all this security-wise?
Well, I think I have to start by saying that, yes, as a member, I mean the Nigerian custom, as a member of the national security architecture, we have roles to play. One of them is the anti-smuggling aspect, which we've been conducting, and then which deals with control or imports of small arms and light weapons into the country. Then we move again, we control food security of the country. The National Food Security is under the Nigerian Customs Service, and in that process, we now make sure that from the borders, items like rice, vegetable oils, and all other things that we feel are inimical to the agricultural sector of Nigeria is controlled. Then we have the economic security, which is to implement government fiscal policies. Any fiscal policy by the government in terms of finances, in terms of items coming into the country, import prohibition lists and what have you, we implement that on behalf of the government. And the most important part of our work is the collaboration that we normally have with other agencies. More especially my colleagues here, we are part of the border drill that you are talking about. Where we are here, or where we are now, is that we remain where we are. And what I mean by this is the borders are still partially closed. And we are making sure that what the government wants to be implemented is implemented. And I believe you are a living witness. The success of the closure of border is everywhere. And what we want to see, more especially for us in Nigerian Customs Service, is for Nigerians to start consuming what we produce. And then I think that success is being witnessed. The poultry industry is already active. The agricultural sector in terms of agriculture and other items have been there. And what we want Nigerians to know further is that it's not only rice that we are protecting. We are protecting other crops. For instance, if where you protect rice, you are making sure that maize, gari, millet, guinea corn, yam, potatoes, whether sweet or Irish, they are all protected. But when you have these foreign goods coming into the country, these things will not be patronized by Nigerians.
Okay, now proceeding, there came a time it looked as though the security architecture in Nigeria functioned and operated in silos. But fundamentally, globally, that's why we have Interpol and other distinct. When you talk about security, where are we with in terms of intelligence sharing, and you use the word collaboration? Where are we with that?
Okay, thank you so much, Omini.
Are you still functioning in silos?
No, I don't think so. Let me just answer you this way. Statutorily, the Office of the National Security Advisor has the primary function of coordinating all security agencies in the country, including the military and other security agencies. So it's performs these functions by bringing these agencies together. And there are two bodies in the Office of the National Security Advisor's Office. You have the Joint Intelligence Board and Intelligence Community Committee Meeting, ICC. So using those two fora, it seeks to bring all the intelligence agencies and security agencies together, where intelligence is being shared, and anything that is happening within the military, other agencies get to know. Even within the police and other security agencies, we get to know. And it's a forum whereby we share intelligence and information. So my simple answer to you is that there's a lot of intelligence sharing, even though at that level it's done multilaterally. Within other agencies, yes, you can have bilateral sharing of information. So, but the Office of National Security is doing a lot. And also, apart from that, one of the entities that have come on board is the Intelligence Fusion Center, whereby if agencies have intelligence about, there is a center which comes to fuse that information together, and it is passed to the particular agency that is required to act on that particular intelligence. And this came about in the wake of the threats of terrorism and insurgency. So this Intelligence Fusion Center helps to synergize and ensure that we share intelligence. So sometimes I actually get surprised when this aspect of lack of intelligence sharing comes up. It's not true. We have sometimes the police or the DSS writing to the military, oh, we have so information, can you act on it? When we have such information, we also pass it to the other agency that is specific to. So that's just the way I can respond to it. So it doesn't function in silos the way we think it does.
If you're just joining us tonight, our focus tonight is first leg, strengthening security architecture in Nigeria, and our second leg coming up later will be on issues of peace and harmony for national development in Nigeria, where the the character of Tuesday Live is we begin with a background report, and the backgrounder tonight was not ready at the beginning. Now the backgrounder is ready. It is put together by Francis Fong. Let's take a listen to it.
Nigeria, like any other country in the world, has had its fair share of security challenges, such as insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, armed robbery, farmers and herders conflicts, and cultism. The Nigeria police, whose responsibility it is to protect lives and property, was also not without some challenges. When the Inspector General of Police Mohammed Adamu assumes duty on the 5th of April 2019, he immediately set up Operation Puff Adder as an operational intervention blueprint to stabilize the internal security space. Within the shortest possible time frame, the objective was achieved. In an effort to strengthen the internal security architecture in the country, the federal government re-established Ministry of Police Affairs to, among other things, initiate, formulate and implement policies and programs relating to policing and internal security. Since the inauguration of the police operational and combat vehicles, the Inspector General of Police acknowledged that a well-equipped police force remains critical to the attainment of internal security objectives. Although police is the lead agency in internal security, the heightened insecurity problem in the country compels the military to be involved in the fight against insurgency. So far, so good. As the military were able to degrade the Boko Haram completely, the Nigeria Customs Service has been doing a lot, leading to stemming down of illegal importation of arms into the country. The security agencies, by and large, have all played a commendable role in tackling security challenges across board. All what is required is committed public support.
By Francis Fong. Let's take another report from Lagos.
December 16, 2019 was only a few days ago, and residents of Pako and Surulere area of Lagos are yet to overcome the commotion that ensued in a clash between two rival court groups. Although the situation was put under control by the police, the clash lasted 2 days, leaving in its wake 2 people dead and property worth millions of naira destroyed. This is just one out of many of such security breach prevalent in Lagos due to its huge population, which stands at about 21 million, quoting the World Population Review reports.
We'll still have home invasions. We'll have a few robberies here and there, bank robberies. We'll have assault, and we'll have a lot of area boy activity and violence.
In the area of human trafficking, there was a lot of improvement in the arrest of culprits with successful clampdown on a syndicate involved in sex trafficking of underage girls operating out of Mafoluku in Oshodi, just to mention an instance.
We are going to prosecute that. We've got it. Look, this is one case that must hit the court.
Noteworthy are the strides recorded as a result of the border closure, resulting in increased revenue generation, reduction in irregular migration, curbing of oil theft, improving agriculture through local rice production and consumption, as well as proliferation of firearms.
We've started bringing to their knees a lot of these criminal elements that have been engaged in this type of activity.
The 2019 scorecard, as revealed by the Inspector General of Police, is a significant improvement in the performance of the force, especially with its recruitment of 10,000 constables to boost its workforce.
The expectation of the federal government and indeed the nation at large for a police force that is knowledge-driven, rule of law guided, community-oriented, technology-compliant, and intelligence-led shall be achieved.
The Nigerian Army also held Exercise Crocodile Smile 4 to aid other civil authorities like the police in clamping down on miscreants within the state.
As well as strengthening interagency cooperation and synergy among all security stakeholders.
Residents of Lagos, however, believe that with the support given by the state government in the provision of gadgets and other essentials, police authorities should look into engaging more advanced technology and improved synergy between the people and security agencies to make community policing effective. In Lagos, Dotun Ogunyemi, NTA News.
Two reports there, Francis Form and the one from Dotun. Let's go to the police now. General policing, safer highways, SARS, roadblocks, and from the report the IG says there has been significant improvement regarding operations by the force. Where are we currently?
Well, where we are currently is that the force is trying to do whatever it requires to ensure that the nation is safe. For example, this Christmas, a lot of deployment had been made along the roads, the major roads, to ensure that Nigerians can drive safely without being molested even by the police officers. So in ensuring that, the IG has deployed some monitoring teams out, while the commissioners of police of all commands have been requested to ensure that they monitor their boys. So it's all an attempt to ensure that Nigerians don't get harassed. As per roadblocks, I want to correct that we don't have roadblocks. But we are still in a situation where you cannot leave all the roads without the presence of police. A lot of drivers feel very comfortable when they see the presence of police. All we need to do is to ensure that they are not harassed and they are not extorted. And that's the force is trying to ensure that during this Christmas and beyond, they are contained.
Naturally, hearing from you, very reassuring, but going to the public, what you get is a contrast. What are you doing towards restoring this confidence?
Yes, what we are doing, for example, before I leave this program, I'm going to drop some numbers with you. The Nigerian public are free to call in case of any infraction by any police officer.
All the numbers, we're free to go ahead.
There are so many numbers.
Okay.
We have the numbers of all the 36 commissioners of police, including Abuja. You have the numbers of all the 12 AIGs. We have the numbers of all the PROs. And I will give my own too. All is in an attempt to ensure that anyone who requires redress can always get redress through all these contracts. I think Nigerians should feel free to contact police. We have gotten to a stage where we have to realize that security is a business and concern of all of us. It requires the executive to provide adequate funding for all the security agents to function well. It requires that the legislature must upgrade some of our obsolete laws that do not deter criminality, and that the judiciary too must ensure that the punishment is deterrent, and the Nigerian populace must realize that all security agencies require information. We have to partner together to ensure we strengthen the security architecture for an enhanced national development. I think we have gotten to that stage now.
Okay, look, I started with the customs. I said you have been in the news since the partial close of land borders, and we have had so much strides recorded. But the question is, we still find some prohibited items, and this issue of border closure cuts across the issue of arms and ammunition, and the concern has always been, if you sort yourself, you're not exposed. Yes. If you don't sort, you're exposed. And some of the discoveries we have seen, tankers laden with rice, motorbikes, fuel tanks laden with rice, arms and ammunition. With all this, what is really happening?
Yes. First of all, I have to say this. You see, we in Nigerian Customs Service believe that there is a correlation between what we allow to come in and the type of peace that we have in this country. So having that at the back of our minds, we all know that, yes, we have to control these imports. Just like you mentioned, Most of these things that we are talking about, either small arms, either rice, you said they are being carried on motorcycles, on all sorts of donkeys, and what have you. We always ask ourselves, what is really wrong with Nigeria? What is so special about this foreign rice? After all, these are mostly chemicalized rice. They are expired rice, given almost free of charge. That is why their prices are very low. But all we have to say is that when you look at the borders of Nigeria, we are talking of a border that is over 4,000 square meters. And then what is our strength? We are not up to a number that can occupy the whole size of this border. But we are trying our best. But what we are trying to achieve now is to leverage on technology. That is why we are cooperating with other security agencies, more especially the Air Force, through geospatial technology, where we can see real time in all the borders. And with the coming up of e-custom, which Mr. President has just approved, we are sure that we will be there. The drones are there. We are going to put them to use. And at the same time, we are training our officers. I have to confess that our relationship with other security agencies, more especially the Army, has been excellent. Last year, they trained 8,000 of our staff in weapons handling. And these are the numbers that we are using in this border drill. The police, we are working with them. And then the DSS, we are working very well. We share intelligence. Just like my military colleague mentioned, the Office of the National Security Advisor is actually coordinating the border drill. So, by and large, we are talking of a situation whereby Nigerians should join hands with us. I can't just understand why a port called Cotonou in Republic of Benin is impacting on virtually almost 70 million Nigerians. If you look at the southwest position of Cotonou that moves from Lagos up to Ogun, Osun, you now move to Oyo, you now move to Niger, you move to Kebbi, you move to Sokoto. In fact, as getting to Gaidam in Yobe State, all these areas that we are talking about are feeling the impact of Cotonou Port, not Tinkan Port. And the people within these borders feel that yes, they are making money, but they are not making any progress. And that explains why today most of these states, more especially if you take Sokoto, you take Kebbi, you even come down to Ogun where you have Ota with industry. The industries there cannot function. Why? Because if today you have a Coca-Cola industry in any of this country, they cannot function because other beverages are being imported from these countries. And here we are again. We have neighbors that are landlocked. A country like Niger, just to mention one, is a landlocked country, but is performing the function of a country with seaport.
Okay, let me just follow up on what you've just said.
Yes.
Now, one of the sessions of the Nigerian Customs Service delegation led by the Controller General of Customs to the National Assembly, he made mind-blowing, breathtaking revelations. You'll be touched regarding the hemorrhage of the Nigerian economy. And one of it is the fact that the border communities aid and abet some of these issues. What is the relationship, or how is the Nigerian Customs now interfacing with the border communities to change the mindset, reorientations of these places so that they know that they are part and parcel of what you're doing?
Yes, you see, the border communities have always been with us because in our 130 years history, we have been dealing with border communities. And from that time to this hour, I want to tell you that we have a border community relationship committee. And Custom is the lead agency there. We've been talking with them, but it's something that is so endemic that the border community people don't want to move away from it. And if you look at it, from Elaro down to Kamba in Kebbi, move to Jibia in Kazina, Gaidam in Yobe, I can mention so many of them. Even Gambaru in the Meduguri. You go there, you find that people are being wasted. Young men just take 2 motorcycles, take 10 bags of rice, 5 bags of rice, cross the border with it, and then when they make 10,000, they feel that they have made money. So the idea of going to school is not there. But the present Controller General is doing more than a lot. We have Border Community Relationship Committee that involves all the agencies operating at the borders. And for now, I think that committee is working very well. They are cooperating with us, and then we are making some successes, though there are complaints here and there. But I want to tell you that, yes, we are on top of it.
Okay. If you're just joining us, it's Tuesday Live tonight, and our focus tonight is, our first leg tonight is strengthening security architecture in Nigeria. And you can join the conversation. Our phone lines are open, and our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA. Send in your tweets, and we'll address them quickly. A couple of tweets are coming, and the first one, I'll pass them to Major General Mohammed Shehu Usman. First is from Abdul. How do we strengthen security in Nigeria without asking the questions, where is the main route used by these insurgents to come into Nigeria? It means we should put all necessary modalities in place, such as fencing our borders with other countries. The second one, so that you address, I think this one cuts across. Kudos to the security agencies for hitting the bandits and insurgents. But let's assess the strength and confidence of these criminal elements. Do they have international collaboration whereby they regroup and strike?
Okay, thank you so much. The first one, I think, is more directed at the customs, because
okay, we'll get to him.
It's we'll address it.
Okay.
Abdul wanted to know how we can strengthen the security of the country by maybe fencing the border so that insurgents do not come in. But I just want to inform Abdul that if he knows the Boko Haram insurgents, they are mainly from Nigeria, they are really from within. And they are Nigerians. And what they do is that they mingle with us. That is why it's called asymmetric warfare. Asymmetric in the sense that they don't wear regular uniforms. They are not like regular forces, so they are not easily identifiable. So they mingle with the population, and they just choose the time and place where they strike. And maybe fencing the borders may not necessarily solve the problem, but it's just for the communities to give information and actually do not collaborate and hide these insurgents, because what we are facing there is such that most of the communities, or some parts of the communities, or some certain individuals within the communities, collaborate with these individuals, and they give information, they hide them within themselves. So in effect, they are not in support of the regular forces as the Nigerian army, but they are on the other side. So I just want to call on well-meaning and peace-loving Nigerians to always support the military. And for the aspect of maybe the borders, I think what the insurgents actually do is that when they are hit hard within the country, they easily cross the border into other countries to go and hide, and later they regroup and they come back. So the borders are very wide. You heard the customs, DIG said about 4,000 plus kilometers. That's stretching from Benin Republic through Niger, Chad, and Cameroon. So it's actually very expansive, and I don't think any country has been able to really fence its borders completely. Even when you fence the borders, they can always pick loopholes within the borders. So that is my first response. The second one, I didn't really get it.
Okay, the second says,
I think it's just commending us for a job.
Yes, but let's assess the strength and confidence of these criminal elements.
Yeah.
Do they have international collaboration whereby they regroup and strike?
Very well. I will just tell you that for the mere fact that they are present within the country and across our common borders in Niger, Chad, and Cameroon, it shows that yes, there is some foreign support for the insurgents. And apart from, I'm not saying these countries are supporting them, but what I'm just saying is that they enjoy some measure of foreign support, funding, and they get their arms from certain countries within the sub-region and even outside the region, like from Libya, from Mali, and even from Central African Republic. So that is actually the problem, because some of these dangerous weapons they are using against us are gotten from some of these conflict zones. And because there is a lot of ungoverned spaces meaning that many of these countries, they have had failed governments, and the administration is weak in some of these areas, so they don't feel government presence. So the tendency is that they are free to, conduct any form of nefarious activities, and a lot of negative activities and criminalities are actually carried out within these countries. And that is what we are feeling now. That's what is filtering down within our country, and that is the way I can liken it to a form of foreign support for some of the effects of the insurgency we are feeling within the country.
Okay. When we return, we take on the customs and the police. The focus once again is strengthening security architecture in Nigeria. The phone lines are open, and our Twitter handle is also open for your reactions at NTA, at Tuesday Live NTA, I beg your pardon. Now, Bob, quickly before we continue the conversation, let's take these two reports back to back. First, from Maiduguri.
The general security situation in Maiduguri and by extension the northeast sub-region is good and peaceful, owing to the gallantry of the various security agencies in decimating the insurgents through robust and rigorous fighting patrols and clearance operations against the remnants of the terrorists taking refuge in remote areas within the theater, particularly at the fringes of northeastern international borders.
With the cooperation that exists among the security agencies and the effort being given to them by the government, they are able to achieve something. And that is why we are now here today. Because before then, none of us could move freely.
The situation is far better now than what it used to be. For the past over 7 months now, we have not experienced suicide bombing.
Today in Maiduguri, you find that people are celebrating marriages, celebrating birthday, going about their businesses peacefully without any fear. So this is a great achievement by the military.
These feats were achieved with the collective efforts of the various security operatives, more especially with the renewed vigor of the military's onslaught against the terrorists, thereby making significant number of insurgents surrender and restoring socio-economic activities, as well as relocation of many IDPs back to their communities, among other efforts.
Boko Haram will not be allowed to do as they wish to do. Boko Haram will not sit on an inch of this country, whether they like it or not. The end of Boko Haram is failure of their agenda, their mission, and by God's grace, the Northeast will enjoy abundant peace again.
Closure of borders has in no small measure helped in preventing the influx of small and light weapons, which most of the time find its way into the hands of terrorists. Despite pockets of isolated attacks on sub-targets, which mostly occurred at the periphery, the region has continued to enjoy significant peace. In Maiduguri, Maimuna Garba, NTA News.
We take yet another report from Port Harcourt, River State.
Prior to the launch of Operation Stink by the River State government, notorious armed gangs held sway around the Emoha axis of the east-west route alongside some major travel routes in the state. Kidnapping, armed robbery, piracy, courtesan, and court-related killings were among the key security concerns for travelers and residents. These ugly incidents are no longer pronounced with Operation Stink.
The objective of this operation is to bring crime and criminality to a standstill.
I've heard of incidences where passengers were being taken into the bush and the rest, but since Operation Stink came into play, I've not had any incidents of such kidnapping and armed robbery.
The Operation Stink brought together various security agencies with the right equipment and capacity in dealing with the insecurity concerns. The proscription of youth activities by the state government, seen as a precursor to courtesy and criminality, equally played significant role to checkmating insecurity in Rivers State.
Our communities have been overwhelmed such that no youth body can be constituted without these boys taking decision, either to put their stooges or taking the position themselves.
Why the Nigerian Navy remained the strategic lead agency in protecting critical national assets in the maritime domain, issues of piracy and kidnapping of passengers have remained a concern to local travelers. The local security outfit codenamed OSPAC has also been instrumental to the successes recorded in terms of security stability in Rivers State. Keen watchers want the authorities to integrate them in the security, especially at the community level. From Port Harcourt, I'm Kingsley Amajiri, NTA News.
Thank you, Kingsley. And let me go to customs. A couple of tweets came in before I go to the police because most of the reactions there are tailored towards that direction. Well, Danladi Badamasi says, we really have to commend the Nigerian Customs for their efforts towards making our economy more viable and encouraging our local manufacturers. Yeah. Swiftly, please ask the DIG Customs HR, all the foreign rice seized, where are they? And it was alleged that some of customs rice are now selling this. Some custom officials are now selling the seized rice. What is at stake? That's directed to you.
Yes, I think that is a very good question. Coincidentally, I happen to be one of the officers that was responsible for the distribution of this seized rice when I was an Assistant Controller General. What we do with it is this way. First of all, the President gave permission to the Controller General that all seized rice, and other items like vegetable oil, used clothing, are to be given to IDPs in the Northeast. And I want to tell you, we started this in 2016. And the Major General here can bear witness, and even the police. We formed a committee, a National Logistic Committee, in 2016, of which I was the chairperson, and we distributed thousands of this rice. And this thing is still continuing. Not only that, the CG in his own wisdom, again, look at the orphanages all over the country. And he set up a committee that moves from all to all the zones of this country, distributing this rice. And right now, I believe our warehouses are filled to capacity, and then this distribution is a continuous exercise, and we are continuing with it. So what I want Mr. Aladi to know, if he wants more information about that, he can cross-check with our PR department. They will show him all the records of this distribution. But I want to assure him, when you have somebody like Colonel Hamid Ali, I don't think anybody dares to pick even a cup of rice to say he's selling it into the market. So I don't know where he got his information, but I believe this is the stand. And I quickly want to add on the question of these borders that the Major General answered. You see, we in Custom look at it this way. In Nigeria, we have over 78 approved border posts. Out of this number, 35 are in the northern states. And out of these 35 in the northern state, 20 of them are in the 3 states affected by Boko Haram insurgency. So you can see, we in Custom are even affected in terms of the revenue that we gain from these areas. So here you are, you have 20 border posts in Adamawa, in Borno, and in Yobe. And our officers are supposed to be operating.
Just a minute.
Yes.
We lost a call from Rivers. Let's quickly take this call from Gombe State.
Oh, okay.
Usman is calling in from Gombe State. Hello, Usman. You're on to Tuesday Live.
Yes.
Go ahead. We can hear you.
Yeah. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah. My first suggestion actually is going to be a generic suggestion to both the military and other parliamentary institutions. First thing that I want to say here is that I think there is a need for the security agencies. If definitely we want to strengthen the security of this country, there is a need for them to integrate the public, that is the Nigerians, because there are a lot of things the Nigerians or people that are residing within the environment of the country that can actually advise and inform them of the necessary action that they need to take. That is question actually goes to the custom officer or the representative of the custom that is here on your studio. Now, when the president gives directive that all goods that are coming through land borders should be housed, for instance, the banning of the foreign rice. Now, I was thinking that the Nigerian custom actually have a research body within itself. Now, the essence of that research body is for them to look inward. Do we actually have the capacity to serve the needs of the Nigerians? If definitely we have, then we can actually comply with the directive of the president. But in a situation whereby we realize that we cannot actually, we cannot provide, we cannot cater for the need of the Nigerians. For instance, we know, is there any statistic or any quantifiable metric that can tell us that Nigerians can actually produce rice that they can feed themselves? That is one question that we need to ask all ourselves here. Now, if this thing is not there, then there is a need for the custom service to advise the government on the necessary action that they need to take. Now, for instance, let the government provide all the necessary input, for instance, for maybe for a period of a particular accounting period, maybe let's say 6 months or 1 year. We provide all the inputs that can actually help our farmers to produce inward what we are going to take in within the country. Then from there, they can say, okay, we're going to ban importation of foreign rice. But where the presidency, where the government of the country will just wake up one morning and say, okay, we are banning this and we are coming up with a new policy in the country without actually looking at the negative implication, be it positive or negative implication to its citizens. I think that is where we are having a great problem. That's why you can see the government has said, okay, we are closing our borders. We don't want the Nigerians to import rice, but still they are still doing the same thing because what we have cannot actually handle our economy. That is important. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Osman. Can you quickly react before I go to DIG?
Yes, I think I can quickly react. And I'm happy that Usman is from Gombe State, and I happen to be from Bauchi State, so I know very much of Gombe. And I want to tell him that it's very interesting that Usman is talking about rice. Why? Because, like I said or mentioned in the start of this program, I said the aim here is to make Nigerians consume what we produce. You know, unless you are a trader or an importer of rice, you cannot tell us that we cannot feed ourselves. If you don't have rice, you have other options. And Usman, in the state where he belongs, the first agricultural development project, Gombe was one of them because of the fertility of that area. And what do they produce? It's maize. We quite agree with him, but where do we get the resources to import rice to feed our people? We want people like Usman to go back to the farm and cultivate. And we want people that import this rice to come here and farm. We have lands everywhere. All our lands are agrarian. You can farm in them. We have dams all over the country. You go to Sokoto, Goronyo, and Bakalori is there in Katsina. All the dams are there. Even in Gombe State, there is that Nkwa, and what have you? There is Kiri Dam. There are even Anambra, Imo, river basins. All over the country, these things are there. And now you cannot turn us back. What we want is for Nigerians to cultivate the rice that we want. This rice that are being imported, like I said, most of them are expired. Nobody will give you the best rice. So, Usman, I think I quite agree with you. Okay. We cannot wake up one morning and say the rice must not come through the border, but the government have the right. The government has the wisdom, to say what they feel is good for the people. And I believe what is good for us is to feed ourselves. And any nation that cannot feed itself is not worth its salt in the Committee of Nations.
Quickly, before we go to other issues from the Twitter handle, let me go to DIG. We heard so much about police community relations committees over the years, and lately it's been community policing. And one of the reports, then precisely the report from Port Harcourt, Rivers State, talked about the police working hand in sync with local security outfits. What can we give us testimonies? And I know that there's a directorate of community policing right now at the force headquarters. Testimonies, strides, where are we with it?
Well,
Coincidentally, the unit of community policing is domiciled in the Research and Planning Department.
Okay, directly under you.
As I'm heading. Okay. And I want to say community policing is a federal government initiative. And the federal government is determined to ensure that it succeeds, because without partnership with the public, we cannot secure the nation, because we don't have our eyes everywhere. So it is the public that are eyes everywhere. And these criminals we are fighting are living in some houses. They are tenants to some landlords, or they are the landlords themselves, known to the public. So it is left. That's why I said at the initial stage of this program that security must be everybody's concern. The populace must partner with security agencies for their own security and for the nation to develop. And I think people are beginning to realize that we just have to partner together. And that is why the police on its own is trying to ensure that we don't allow any infraction that will deter or negate this policy of federal government. Because if the public don't have the confidence.
I'll still stay on you when we come back. There's one or two twists on you here directly. But Issa is calling in from Bono. Let's take his reaction. Hello, Issa. You're on to Tuesday Live.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Thank you. My name is Ariel Issa. I'm calling from Biu in Borno State.
Okay. Go ahead.
Well, yes, I want to commend all the officers there, sir, including you, for the important issues you people are discussing. First of all, I want to commend the Nigerian Army because of the effort they have been putting into rescue Nigerians. Like here in Biu yesterday, the Boko Haram people tried to enter this town, but the armies overpowered them and destroyed them. They pursued them out of the town. So we thank them for this. Even this evening, the Air Force came with their jet, and we saw some drones and all these sort of things. So, but people who are going on with their normal businesses without any problem. They tried to enter the town, but they could not enter the town. Many of them were killed, and we learned that their vehicles were being destroyed. And also concerning the importation of rice or the smuggled rice into this country, sir, I just want to find out, I want to ask the custom officer there, sir, is it possible for them to maybe pursue some of these traces in the market, whereby you see them physically, but nobody knows how they enter into the market? Don't the Nigerian law allows them to enter the market and get these people so that they will export the source from where they used to bring in this rice so that they can be able to block them? This is one of the questions I also want to ask. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Thank you so much, Issa. But let's conclude with you, DIG. Before you wrap up, there is this tweet from Polo Oranyo. Compliments of the season. May I suggest creating an app for the police force which we as Nigerians can lodge in complaints, report crime or civil wrong, obtain necessary information, and so on. An app that can help the police get that synergy that are required to keep Nigeria peaceful.
Well, I want to say we have the response unit of the police where public complaints. You can phone the number, you can send messages to their email, and we have the force PROs too. We have all police public relations officers across Nigeria where complaints can be registered. And you can be sure once you register your complaint, it will be taken care of. And that is why we make our numbers public. People can call directly. If you go online, you see number. Even my numbers is online. People have been calling online for redresses, and we have been taking care of all this. It's an attempt to ensure that the public have confidence in us that we are not going to condone any indiscipline or any act of corruption. So the CRU is there to take responses. You can go to the police website. You will see all our numbers there. And through that numbers, he can get redress, whatever redress he wants.
Okay, before now, Top Solowai says, good evening, gentlemen in the studio. My question to DIG Customs, when will the border be opened? And another leg, testimony Arioga. What I mean is that all border parameters should be fenced. We can borrow a leaf from the United States. The barbed wire fence can be electrified. Not when we see our borders so porous, one can just cross into Nigeria without problems.
Well, I think before I answer that one, let me go back to demand from bill.
Yes, you talked about market rates.
Market rates, yes. We under our laws, Section 147 of Custom and Excise Management Act gave us that power. And we have been raiding markets. So I don't know the particular market he's talking about. If he had mentioned the market, then we'll...
What about shopping malls?
Shop everywhere. We can go in there, and we have the powers. And we've been doing that quietly and silently. So for us, there is no... And we don't even need a warrant to do that. The laws gave us that power.
What about people, for instance, who feel they are smart?
Yes.
Or they want to subvert the law?
Yes.
Maybe they hoard the rice, you want it, they sell it surreptitiously. If they are discovered, are they above the law?
No, they are not. And we go into houses. It may surprise you. We go into houses to get this rice. And even vehicles, we do that. And of recent, I believe the noise or the name that we made for ourselves is mostly to do with vehicles in Lagos, in Kano, in Abuja. People who are saying, no, we don't have the power. But we have that power to do that. So I believe if he can get in touch with custom as an informant, does that for us, I think he will be doing a very good service to Nigeria.
So could you quickly react to the last two so I go to the
Yes, you are talking about border opening. I think that is the prerequisite of Mr. President. I don't think anybody can say this is when it will be open.
What about the suggestion about the barbed wire fence?
Barbed wire fence, I could even give him an example of what the American president is trying to do. And he's having all challenges. If we have the resources, I think we can do that. Okay. We can not only barb the whole borders, we can even computerize it if we have the resources. So I think with the resources, we can do that. But the little we have, like I said initially, we are leveraging on technology to make sure that, yes, they are fenced, but technologically. And I believe we will achieve that if we have our e-custom in place.
Okay, one angle most Nigerians are not aware of, they just feel the issue of the partial land border closure is all about rice. But we have heard testimonies where banditry has reduced, illegal migration has reduced, and one of the reports talked about the strides recorded by Operation Crocodile Smile, Operation Sting by your Nigerian army. So can you encapsulate where are we regarding all this in summary? Because we are wrapping up this segment. We have two legs on the program tonight.
Okay, thank you so much, Omini. As regards what the Nigerian Army is doing and in terms and when you relate it to border closure, I can tell that usually towards the end of the year we undertake certain exercises and operations, and some of these are Ayamakwatuma, Crocodile Smile 4, Atilogudo, and also there are other subsidiary operations going on around the country, either in Daji and the like. So essentially what we are doing, and when you relate it to border closure, is that the border closure essentially curtails smuggling of small arms and light weapons, checks the movement of illegal aliens and migrants, and frustrates the movement of certain logistics and other items that are prohibited within the country. And this helps our operations. And the partial closure of the border, so far so good. It's helping to curtail some of these nefarious activities that are happening around our border communities. So I think for us, it's a welcome development, even though I know it's the prerogative of Mr. President to decide when the borders will be open. So I just want to also quickly chip in as to issue of fencing of the borders. You see, people have this wrong notion that when you fence the borders that nobody can come in, nobody. No. Even in the US or other countries where the borders are fenced or they are wide, you still have people tunneling down, you know, under these fences. And it happens even in the US where there are certain areas, difficult terrain, where you cannot even put anything there. Rivers, mountains, you can't put any structure there. So they leverage on technology, drones and other surveillance devices to monitor those areas. So people should not just sit down and think that by the time you fence or you demarcate the border away from that you cannot get in or you can. No, it doesn't work that way. So that is just my own humble submission. Thank you so much.
Okay, let's take this call from Chima. Chima is calling in from Port Harcourt, and after Chima's call, we'll take one more report before we tie up this segment for the second leg of the program. Hello, Chima. Hello, Chima.
Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Go ahead.
Good evening. I greetings go to the DIG, the General and the Custom Controller. Thank you very much for the discussions. Please, my question goes to the DIG, the police DIG, sir.
Okay.
Sir, from Port Harcourt to Owerri, after Elele going to the Imo border, that's more than 30 or 28 checking points. This just about 4 kilometers of distance. And these men, if you watch the address, there's no name on the address, no police uniform. They will use sweater, this thing, sounds like a sweater to cover it up or this thing. You won't have to this thing. So prefer people like me, other people prefer us to be charging us 200 naira if you pass, you pay them. Then they will detain you there, you will be there, they will terrorize you and everything. Because they will charge you from 5,000 to 10,000 naira. Every you don't use that there. Every day, from Monday to Sunday. And some of these men, I can identify more than 20 of them, they have been there for 3 years. No changing, no movement. And that's those angles. My brother, we are very happy the way police are working in some of that places. But for this particular place, please do something. Nigeria is using that road from Elele to Imo Bandre. We are in trouble. These men are threatening you. If you do, they shoot you. They are there. Most of them have seen some of them for 3 years. They have not moved. As I'm talking to you now, they are there. Tomorrow they will be there. So please, do something. Don't leave it in the hands of the CPs in the state, or maybe they may not know that we are in trouble there. People in River State between them, we are in trouble there. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Please, can you quickly react to Chima's issues before we take the bus forward? Thank you so much. We are thinking much of Chima. Let's take a reaction to Chima's issues, please.
All right, thank you very much. That's why we said we need the populace to assist us in doing our job. If we say we don't have bad eggs among us, we will deceive ourselves. Because even within every home has its own bad eggs. But what is important is, what are the deterrent measures being put in place? I can assure you that the Nigerian police is one organization that will never support corruption. We are going to look into this as we have gotten this information, and I can assure you that the CP, I'm sure this road cuts across about 3 communities, maybe Port Harcourt, Abia, and maybe more also, but we are going to send escort there to go and see what is actually happening. And if he has identity of any of those officers, he should send it to my phone. I'm going to give my number here. Let him send it there, and we'll monitor the officer and make sure that he's arrested.
Can you quickly give the number for the Vox Pop, please?
080 33 89 3226.
One more chance.
080 33 89 3226. Second number 080 766 23 873. 080 766 23 873. This is in line with the Servicom initiative of the federal government. We want to ensure quality service without harassment of the public. So please do call us.
Thank you so much. Well, Tuesday Live, besides the phone calls and addressing your issues to our Twitter handle, we also went to the streets. And outside the reports we did, to hear the reaction of Nigerians on this issue. Let's take a listen.
And I want to give my kudos to the president, the militaries, police, SSS, and all the securities involved. The security is getting improved day by day. So on that matter, I would say I give kudos to them, because the effort that have been put in place to make us live today, I think it's not a small effort, despite of some leakages and here and there. But however, maybe through the research and the new security bond that was signed by the President and the National Assembly and all the security stakeholders, I think we will get there by God's grace. And especially at this Christmas season, those that are traveling nationwide, there is security all over, road, highway, to their various destinations. And by God's grace, up to today, we have not recorded any bad incident.
Just before, after they closed the border, the security has been okay. Even after they closed the border, you could see that the crisis at the north area has reduced. You could not hear about most bombings and issues now. I think it has reduced. It's improving.
This year, I think we've really made progress as a country, because we record no records of any violence or such in the state, and I think they've really tried a lot. Like, it's really been awesome, and we look forward to a greater year of more achievements. Progress starts little by little, so I feel with this that we've seen, with the little changes we've seen in most states, and so I feel other states, with time, there will be an improvement in other states.
Well, that was a reaction by Nigerians, and I must say, at this juncture, we come to the end of this segment of Tuesday Live Tonight. We told you at the beginning, we have two legs on the program. The first leg has been strengthening the security architecture in Nigeria, and we must tell you a very big thank you for all your tweets, your phone calls. You raised your concerns, and they were addressed here. Okay, let me quickly thank Sanusi Omar, Deputy Controller General of Customs, in charge of Human Resources and Development Department. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you.
And DIG, Deputy Inspector General of Police, in charge of Research and Planning, Babatunde Ogonyowo. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
And Major General Mohammed Shehu Usman, Chief of Civil Military Affairs. It was good having you on the program.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure.
When we return on the second leg of the program, we'll take a look at Christmas, peace, and national development. Stay with us.
Today, all occupied territories have been recovered and Boko Haram has been degraded. Our affected brothers and sisters are getting their lives back. However, they are now after you and me. In our mosques, churches, schools, motor parks, markets, entertainment centers, and public gatherings. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me. Nigeria unite against terrorism.
This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
The struggle for independence had been a long and tough one. Our founding fathers and compatriots sacrificed their comfort and even shed their blood. We cannot at this point in history afford to spirit away their sacrifices for immediate but temporary gains of today. Let us emphasize what unites and not what divides us. Working for the unity of purpose with a stronger vision for a better tomorrow. NTA, growing with the nation.
Nigeria, the only country we can train with remarkable potentials to excel. Let us believe in ourselves and change our attitude for the sake of our country and generations unborn. Let us revive our cultural values, which are our essence as a nation. Let us renew the spirit of patriotism and hope in our dear country. Do not take or give bribe. Be punctual always. No more African time. We can't expect to be global citizens and operate on African time. Join the queue. Insist that people are attended to on a first-come basis, no matter who they are or where they come from.
Nigeria, good people, great
nation.
Tapleo, make you report any crooked person, object or wakajube movement to police and security agent demo.
The security of our nation now work for all of us, so plus including me and you.
Nigeria, make we unite against terrorism. Now, Federal Minister of Information and Culture bring on this message.
Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Once again, compliments of the season. Our second leg of Tuesday Live tonight is Christmas, Peace and National Development. In a few minutes to come, Christians worldwide will be celebrating Christmas, celebrated every 25th of December to mark the birth of Jesus Christ more than 2,000 years ago. The message of Christmas centers on issues such as peaceful coexistence, good neighborliness, love and joy. How best to use the period in consolidating on peace and national development in the country. How well to address matters of hate speech, tribalism, and religious bigotry. What are religious leaders preaching on the pulpit, and how well do the followers understand the old saying that united we stand, divided we fall? Answers and more with those who should know. And quickly, my guest. Before I introduce my guest, our phone lines are open, and our Twitter handle, which is at Tuesday Live NTA, is open, so you can raise your concerns based on the discussion and line of thought in the course of the program. My guest quickly on this segment, I have Reverend Israel Akonji, Chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, North Central Zone. He is also the senior pastor, First Baptist Church, Garki, Area 11, Abuja. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Dr. Musa Olaofe, Chief Imam, and Sarudin Society of Nigeria, Wuse 2, Abuja branch. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much.
He's also a lecturer at the University of Abuja. Well, quickly on the lips of most Christians the world over currently, you find testimonies of love, testimonies of oneness, and even the body language suggests what you simply hear, compliments of the season, and all this translates to Christmas. So quickly, without necessarily defining Christmas, from your perspective, can you encapsulate Christmas?
Well, Christmas is a time of the celebration of the birth of Jesus Christ. Every year on the 25th of December, Christian faithful will come together to celebrate the birth of Christ. And for us, the birth of Christ is the highest expression of God's gift of love to mankind. Jesus Christ came into the world in order to take away the sin of the world. God found out that the world was sinful, and Jesus came in order to reconcile man to God and put an end to the enmity that was brought by sin. Therefore, Christmas is a concrete expression of God's love through Jesus Christ. And we celebrate that to thank God that all our sins, all that we have done wrong, are being forgiven because Jesus came to take our place as the sacrifice for man to be reconciled to God. So that's why we celebrate. It is a time of love. And our understanding of it is that it is therefore a time for sober reflection, to look into our lives, to ask ourselves questions and try to answer whether this purpose of Christmas is being achieved in our lives. And if it is truly being achieved, we are supposed to live our lives expressing the same kind of love God has expressed to us to our neighbors. The concrete way of knowing a person to be a Christian is by a life of love. Love for God by being devoted to God, and love for his fellow man. So Christmas affords us the opportunity to love. And this love comes in various ways. It comes in sharing, it comes in visitation, it comes in caring. There are people that are sick in the hospitals, there are people in motherless homes, there are people in IDP camps, there are people in prisons. All these people are supposed to know that there is a God who loves them, and they are being attended to by Christians who have received this love of God and cannot contain it in themselves but must express it to other people. All of these things are ways of looking at Christmas.
So now it's about Christmas, it's about Christianity. When you say love, sharing, and oneness, must we restrict it to only us Christians, or do we transcend?
At all. The Christian faith does not teach us to restrict our love to Christians. In every teaching of the Word of God, we are taught to love our neighbors as ourselves. And a neighbor is just anyone around you that is in need. He doesn't have to believe like you. He doesn't have to speak your language. You don't even have to know him before you can share your love. So this is a time when we are supposed to share with everybody, even those that are in the correctional homes, the prisons, so that we put people because they have committed crimes. We are supposed to go to them and let them know that there is a God in heaven that cares for them and loves them. And our brothers that are Muslims and people of other beliefs, yes, this is a time to share. What God will expect of us is that kind of love that reaches out to everybody, because God's love too is to everybody. God has no restriction in his love, and as we practice our faith, we are not supposed to have restriction in our love at all. And therefore it's a time to celebrate with all people.
Okay, let's quickly take this call from Nwachukwu. Nwachukwu is calling in from Rivers State before we take on the next response. Hello, Nwachukwu.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Merry Christmas.
Same to you. Go ahead.
Hello. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know. I actually wanted to comment based on your first segment of the program.
We are done with that. Just comment on this particular segment.
All right. Okay. I think just to tell Nigerians that Christ is the reason. Hello.
Go ahead. We are listening to you, Nwachukwu.
Okay. I just want to tell Nigerians that Christ is the reason for the season. And for everyone who wants to celebrate, I think we should celebrate wisely. But the only thing that baffles me during the Christmas period is just the fact that, it is the season of celebration, sharing and that. But then, things become so expensive during this period. While in other developed countries, at this point of the time, things become cheaper. They give all sorts of promo. Maybe you buy things at a cheaper rate. Sometimes you buy, they give you gifts. But here in Nigeria, the reverse is the case. Some people couldn't travel at the time, this period of the time, to see their loved ones in their various villages because the transport fare is high. So I don't know if government can come into this, especially the area of transportation. It's so expensive this time around traveling. So please, government should look into this, or the transporters. I don't know how the government can caution them, or make a particular law that will restrict them from increasing transport fare whenever it's Christmas season, so that people would be able to travel to see their loved ones in their various places of origin. Thank you.
Thank you, Chima. I think we'll address Chima's concern in the course of the program. But quickly, Akonji has talked about Christmas, but from the perspective of interfaith harmony in Nigeria, because we're looking at Christmas, peace and security. What's your perspective?
We believe in Nigeria, we just have to live together as one family, irrespective of religious background, ethnicity, whatever we can think of. But because if we live together as one family, there are a lot of things that we can do together that will make Nigeria great. For example, now, this is time for Christmas that people are celebrating, and both Muslims or Christians, you see them exchanging greetings here and there. And let me tell you, there is nothing you can do to stop it. There is nothing you can do to eradicate it. There is nothing you can do to ignore it. It's yearly in, out. And because of that, everybody, even when the Muslims are celebrating Eid al-Fitr or Eid al-Kabir, you see the Christians, brothers and sisters, greeting them that congratulations, Eid al-Kabir, Eid al-Fitr, many other things that are in place then. So we can see that that religious harmonious, it has to remain. It has to continue if you want to live together as one family in Nigeria. And we can see that that one has been in place for a very long time. Religious leaders, they are really working in such a way that they move from one place to another. It's not only what they preaches on Fridays, on Sundays alone that matters. Even on daily basis, they keep on saying good things. They keep on making people to be more happier than ever before. Then you can see that with that, we are promoting nothing but unity. We are promoting nothing but good neighborliness. We are promoting what we call understanding in Nigeria. In fact, if anybody comes to Nigeria and starts saying that the Muslims and the Christians, are they really together? The answer is yes, because we do things together. So with this season now, you can see that all of us, we are speaking with the same language, we are speaking with one voice, and what we are all saying is how peace can keep on reigning in Nigeria.
Okay, once again, if you're just joining us, our second leg tonight on Tuesday Live is on Christmas, peace and security and national development. If you are sending your tweets or you want to make a phone call, tailor your arguments or concerns on national interreligious harmony. Let's quickly take this caller from Abuja, Peter James. Hello, Peter James. Hello, Peter.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm on to Tuesday Live.
You are on to Tuesday Live. Go ahead with your concerns or what's your questions?
Okay. Well, it's a contribution, not a question.
Go ahead, please.
Okay. Please, my contributions should be this. It's like this, sorry. I think in this country, Nigeria, we will need to learn to live with each other in peace and harmony. For example, I've traveled to some countries whereby we have 98% Muslims. Go to countries like Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso, and the rest of you, where I've been to, have stopped there. That's why we live together, which will, if during the Muslim festival, we Christians will join them to celebrate. During our own festive, Christians, they join us to celebrate. And we lived peacefully, harmoniously, we loved one another. That's why it is today. You go to Senegal.
Oh, it looks we lost that call. But quickly, before we take on the next issues, a couple of tweets have come in, and these tweets are addressed to the two of you. Let me quickly take them up now. The first one is from Law Alpha 3. It says, Christmas represents sacrifice. Religious leaders should tutor their followers to respect and pray for political office holders and not create the impression that they are their enemies who deploy all manner of policies to affect them negatively. Next comes from Mubarak. It says, good evening all. Please, I want the two men of God to pray for peace and tranquility in Nigeria. The third tweet comes from Danladi Badamasi. The truth of the matter is that without peace, there would be no development. 30 years ago, Christians and Muslims stayed together peacefully. Why the sudden change? Please, we should love one another and put our ethno-religious differences aside. A challenge to all of us. I think from the back, let's react.
Well, I agree with what all of them are saying. the one who says that there can be no development when we don't have peace is very correct. It's not only development that we will not have. In fact, we will not even have the religion itself when there is no peace. Because you cannot go to church to say you are going to worship when there is no peace. You cannot go to the mosque to go and worship when there is no peace. The very act of worshiping God itself is destabilized when there is no peace. You find out that the places of worship are empty because there is no peace. So we need peace. We need peace for every place, for the family, for the society, for the government to be able to develop the place, because the opposite of peace is violence or destruction. And you know, in 10 minutes, you can destroy something that it takes 20 years to put together. In just a twinkle of an eye, you can destroy. So all of us must ensure that that which God has given us in Nigeria, we defend and preserve and not destroy. And I believe that the basic thing that we need is to have our own hearts and lives corrected as people. When we call ourselves religious people, how do you see the other person? The Christian faith teaches us to love everybody as we love ourselves. If we love that person, the Christian faith also makes us to know that Jesus Christ came and made a sacrifice of his life. And in order for us to live for him, we must also make sacrifice for other people. Now, I see that Nigeria will not develop if we do not have people with sacrificial spirit. It's true that sometimes there is need to talk to leadership, that leadership should be by example, that people who are in leadership should know that God has given a great responsibility to them in order to take care of the people that are under them. And in taking care of them, they should be sacrificial, not thinking of themselves, of their own families, but thinking of everybody, working for the common good of all. I believe that if we come with this kind of character, we will be able to show the example needed. Now, one of those who spoke said that the religious leaders should also be praying for politicians and leaders and not be against them. And you are very correct. In fact, the Bible teaches that we should pray for our leaders, those that nobody gets to leadership on his own. It is God that puts people in leadership. And it is the duty of those of us who are followers to pray for our leaders, because the task in their hands are enormous. On their own, they cannot do it. And therefore, in order for us to have peace in our nation, those of us who worship God, who are religious people, we must always pray for our leaders, that God will guide them. The task is enormous. We must pray for our president, vice president, our governors, our senators, all of them, because it is by our collective effort that the nation will be built. We don't just fold our hands and say, let the leaders be building. We are part of the building. We are to cooperate with them, we are to obey them, and we are to pray for them. And if we do this, definitely we will be building the nation. And but love will help us to be able to live in peace with one another. And a sacrificial spirit, the kind of which Christ himself demonstrated by coming to sacrifice himself and give himself for us as mankind to be able to be reconciled with God and be able to live the fulfilled life that God has planned for us. We must also be sacrificial. As a father in the home, we must be sacrificial. As a boss in the office, we must be sacrificial. And as somebody in charge of whatever for the nation, we must just think of the good of all the people.
Okay, Alaofe, now, amongst us in Nigeria, dominantly we are either Christians or Muslims. And when we talk about peace and harmony, most of the hate speech, profanity, bad blood created in the country comes from either Christians or Muslims. Yet, every Friday at our spare time, we are in the mosque. Every Sunday at our spare time, we are in our churches. And we are being preached to by the clergy and the cleric. What do we learn? Because if you don't have the strength, it will affect composure of leadership. What's your take on this?
You see, if you go back to the Holy Quran, it has been stated by Almighty Allah that we have people, they always say we believe. They always tell people that we believe in God, we believe in the last day, but they don't have any belief. Then these are the people who always says we are deceiving Allah, we are deceiving the Prophet, we are deceiving the followers. Then Allah says, وَمَا يَخْدَعُونَ إِلَّا أَنفُسَهُمْ. They are not deceiving anybody, but they are deceiving themselves. But they perceive it not. Then you can see that every Fridays, the Imam will stand and preach. On Sundays, the pastors will stand and preach. See, let me tell you, paradise and hellfire is already there. Those who do good will go to paradise. Those who do bad, definitely they will go to hellfire, unless they change. Now, the preachings people are saying all the time is for you to take what you are missing. Because there are a lot of things that through the preachings, then many people have changed for better. So it is our duty to keep on saying it. It's not because that people are not listening. Many are even changing for better to next level of their life. And you can see that they will tell you that what I had yesterday in the mosque is what makes me to change and change forever. What I had in the church, that's what the pastor said. In fact, I was so impressed. Then with that, you can see that I've turned over a new leaf. Then I'm living a very good life. So there are a lot of things going on. It is not that the pastors and the imams are not working. They are really working every day. And they are really preaching. But the issue of hate speech, we have to take it from different angles. Now, the leaders who promise that when we get there, we will do the rightful, we will do the needful to make sure that the dividend of democracy goes round and without any problem. Now, why do we go to hate speech? It is because people are talking of what they expected the leaders to do, which they are not doing, and that's why they have to resort in that. If you think that we cannot listen, we cannot move closer to you, I'll come to your office and tell you, then let's begin doing this, although it's not good enough. Hate speech cannot solve any problem. You rather advise people to do the right thing at the right time, instead of bringing in the hate speech. At the end of the day, you'll be abusing the innocent ones, you'll be talking to those who are even working. As we are even talking now, you see that some people are very good. These politicians, some are very nice. They go to their constituency, and then whatever money given to them, they will, people goes to IDP camps and listen to people there, their problems, and give them money, because out of the money given to them, they have to share it too. Some are doing well. Why some are not doing anything at all? Those who are not doing, when they see them, and they cannot move closer to them, instead of them, they keep on bringing all this hate speech, which is not the best. But the only thing you can do, you can even move closer to somebody you know that is not doing well. Then you talk to him or her that, please, if you can change, people will be very happy. Because when you are campaigning, you came to us, you pleaded, you told us that you do the rightful, you do the needful, then we all voted for you. But what we are expecting instead of seeing this is for us to be very happy with whatever government you are running. So I want to appeal to every one of us. We should drop whatever hate speech. We should forget about it. We should not even abuse one another. Our leaders must be respected. We talk to them politely, we'll advise them, because God has already even stated in the Holy Quran, with the mercy of Allah on every one of you, be lenient with the people you are leading. Be lenient with them. Talk to them in a sweet language that they will listen to you and they will be very happy. Let me tell you, people don't need huge money, big money we are talking about. The little you give to them today, in the next 2 months, that good thing you have done to them, they will keep on remembering that one. If you come again, then you have become a great person to them. But if you abandon them totally and you don't even care, look at what somebody was saying, that to travel now it becomes a problem. Well, how can government intervene that when we are traveling, the transportation is anything else, this and that. But government is trying. Let me tell you, go to any filling station, you buy fuel and travel to wherever you want to travel to. What of you there is no fuel? So that is the area you blame the government that they are not doing well. But they have done well to make sure that during this period, people buy fuel in their respective stations, and then they travel to where they are traveling to. The road safety, they are doing their best. The police too, they are doing their best. All the law enforcement agencies, they are on top of the situation to make sure that people get to their destination successfully. With that, we can see that when we continue doing this, not only in the Christmas or whatever festival we are doing, let's keep on doing it, and you see that the issue of hate speech will reduce drastically.
If you are just joining us, you can be part of the conversation tonight by putting your call through or sending a tweet through our Twitter handle at Tuesday Live NTA. Our studio time is already past 12 midnight, and I must say, on behalf of all of us here from the top management, the Director General, the Executive Directors, and all the operatives of the Nigerian Television Authority, we wish you a Merry Christmas from all of us. And I believe the cleric and the clergy will also wish Nigerians a Merry Christmas.
We wish you a Merry Christmas, a Christmas full of love, full of celebration with other people. Remember, Jesus came that our sins might be forgiven. This is a time to forgive those who have offended you. Sometimes we bottle up in our minds and are angry with our neighbors, and God does not want this spirit of unforgiveness. In fact, the Bible says, if you do not forgive your neighbors what they have done against you, your Father in heaven will also not forgive you. So this is a time for us to live with forgiveness, live in harmony with one another, and celebrate God's goodness to all of us. On the hate speech thing, again...
We'll get to that. Let me quickly take this caller from Kaduna. All right. Adejo is calling in from Kaduna.
All right.
Hello, Adejo.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, good evening, sir.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm expecting myself to speak with them on the street. Good evening, sir.
We can hear you. Go ahead, please.
Okay. I want to salute the men of God on the stage. I want to salute the men of God on the stage.
Please, just go ahead. Make your input. Raise your concerns.
Okay. I'm very happy now to see them speaking with people on the stage. The only thing I want to advise from my own side is, with all that they are saying, telling us now, is from the knowledge they have gotten. In this country, the problem we're having most especially is the lack of knowledge and understanding. Majority of our people in this country are up to this particular moment illiterate. That is the major thing we're having as a problem, number one, that I want to see. So they should also try to penetrate the government of this country to please, the problem of education that is dwindling should be something that has to be addressed again.
Thank you so much. But quickly, I think that's the much we can take on that call, on that call out. Now, we have this tweet from Aminu Ismail, and I leave that to the two of you. Nigerians are getting it right this time around. The sudden change of attitude by Nigerians from religious intolerance towards a stronghold unity, harmony, and love is something worthy of commendation. I really appreciate our spiritual leaders so much for preaching peace.
Thank you very much.
And could you also relate your reaction to what he raised? It looks maybe pedestrian, but if you look at it, he has some points there. Lack of knowledge and understanding.
Well,
it depends on the angle you look at it.
There are various angles to it. That's what I want to say. There is the need for education to go around. There are so many people walking around the streets, hulking without education. We need to care for them. There are many children begging about, we need to care for them. That's one kind of education, which I believe that the government is doing a lot about, but probably needs to do more. I know that there was a time that even the government was promoting nomadic education, especially for people who are nomads, so that their children, in spite of the nature of their own vocation, their children can also have education. That's one kind of education. But there is this ignorance of even the teaching of the religions, which is a very big one. There are people who read the text of the scriptures, either the Bible or the Quran, and by the time they begin to apply it, they are applying it wrongly. And sometimes some of the people who are doing this wrong application, it's not as if they are not, they don't have secular education. They have the secular education, but they don't have the proper education of the text of Scripture. And that's where, again, the challenge is for us who are religious leaders to continue to use every avenue. You see, our avenues are numerous. If you think of the rites of passage in life, when a child is born, the religious leaders are there to name the child, to celebrate with the family. When a child is marrying, religious leaders again are there to talk to them about how they should live their lives and things like that. When somebody graduates from school or something, religious leaders are called to pray that the person will have open doors. And when death even comes, you know, they will call religious leaders. Now, all of these are opportunities to talk to people about how transient life is. You know, when we have the opportunity at a funeral, when somebody dies, to let us know, you see, this world, we came naked, we shall leave this world naked. Some of the things we struggle for, we deny people, deprive people and all this, whatever you have, one day, you will leave it. And when we use all those occasions, I believe that people will be understanding scriptures more. And another thing is to be exemplary. I think by our coming together, I mean, when two of us meet, we greet one another. Occasions arise when I know that it has to do with him. I can rise up to go and visit him. And people are happy to see an imam come to me in the church to visit me. And I go to an imam in the mosque to greet him. When people see these examples, it can touch them. So I believe it's more than what we just say on camera, but that in our own daily practice too, people should see example in us, how we are able to relate with one another. I know some Muslim people in my life that I've been growing up around. When it is time for celebration of Salah, they will even call me on phone that they need, I've not given them what to celebrate with, you know. And for me, to share is part of love, you understand? And I'm glad to do that. I'm sure there are experiences like that on both sides and things like that. So we should increase it and use our opportunities well. People are truly ignorant of interpreting the scriptures, both Christians and Muslims. And we need to teach more and more on this.
Okay, if you go to Lagos, for instance, you go to Kano, you go to, say, Port Harcourt, you go to Makodi, name it, in the marketplace, you find Nigerians there. And Nigeria is multi-ethnic, multi-religious, multilingual. Can we speak to religious tenets, compliance, and followership?
Well, you see, when you go to all these places you are talking about, Nigerians are there, and both Muslims and Christians are there. Now, if you look at, even when you go to the market, a Muslim can buy things from a Christian can buy something from a Muslim, and at the same time, they exchange good pleasantries, so that that love we are talking about is always there. Now, the issue of religion, what this man, the man that called and said, that ignorance, well, it's very right, because we have been saying these things times without number. If you want to be a preacher, you must know what you are preaching. That professionalism, we have been saying it times without number, is very, very essential. those who are very good in preaching concerning in Muslims, they should, those who line it, who are very professional in that, they should allow them to do the work. The same thing goes to the Christians. Not just, let me just pick microphone and let me be preaching. At the end of the day, then you condemn this, you condemn that. Even in the Holy Quran, what God says, invite people into the fold of Islam with wisdom and good preaching. So that good preaching, while Mawhisat al-Hasana, good preaching alone is part of what we are talking about. There is a wise man who says, men were divided into so many categories. A man that knows, and he knows that he knows, that is knowledgeable person, move closer to him. A man that doesn't know, and doesn't know that he doesn't know, that is an ignorant person. What can you discard him? So all this issue of ignorance we are talking about, it is not because that people don't know what they are doing. They really know what they are doing. But deliberately, they just want to behave in that manner. That at least let me just create anything that makes people to know that at least I'm doing something. The issue of forgiveness we are talking about, I'm getting it now, is very, very essential. We need to forgive one another. When I was coming, you see the federal government releases some people that they should go home with their family and rejoice with them on Christmas, on a day to Christmas Day, so that at least that is what we call forgiveness. Everybody praises federal government that these people have been there for long. Then a day to Christmas Day, you allow them to go home, then that shows government is working. And the court order too, they work with it. So it shows that that love is there in Nigeria. It shows that our leaders, they have the listening ear. It shows that people that are there too, they are human beings. Why can't they go and rejoice with their family? So you can see that this harmony we are talking about is bringing a lot of good things into Nigeria. And if you continue like this, you will see that we'll continue living together as one family, both Muslims and Christians. For example now, you want to buy a phone, Samsung or whatever. Do you know the maker of that phone? Then you just go there and say, okay, I need Samsung. You buy it, then you start using it. Do they write, okay, this is manufactured by the Muslims or manufactured by the Christians? You just go there and buy, then you start using it. You must have known that if some people do not put heads together to bring all this together and for you to purchase it will be very difficult. So that is why we should try all our possible best in Nigeria. Then we need to harmonize a lot of things. That harmony, unity we are talking about. Look at this harmony has been there for a very long time. When we say we pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be what? Faithful, loyal, and honest, and to serve Nigeria with all our strengths. With that one alone, we must have realized that it is when we come together as one family. Religions apart. Religions, you cannot remove religion from politics, and you cannot remove politics from religion. They work hand in hand. And when they work hand in hand, then our mechanism of reasoning must always work in anti-clockwise to make sure that we do the right thing at the right time. And with this now, you see that in Nigeria will be more greater than anything.
Just like the Muslims will celebrate, Christians are now celebrating. We are in Eid already.
Yeah.
We are 25th December, Christmas 2019. Now, so many preparations, arrangements, travelings, and a lot of governmental structures are put in place, structures to ensure that there's a peaceful and harmonious celebration.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, we look up to this day, yet by the end of today, we hear so much of people who celebrated off track. How best can we celebrate this day without causing any interreligious disharmony and having this hook, line, and sinker peacefully?
Yeah. Well, actually, we always try to encourage people during celebrations like this that they should not miss the heart of Christmas. The heart of Christmas is Jesus Christ. Jesus came into the world for a purpose, and he lived and gave example of how we should live. He lived in love and taught us to love. He lived in humility, taught us to be humble. He lived sacrificially, and he taught us to be sacrificial. He lived truthfully, and he cared for all. People that followed Jesus, not all of them believed him, but whenever he cared, he performed miracles, fed 5,000, 4,000, and they all received blessings from him. In other words, Jesus did not restrict his own blessings, and he was able to pass it on to all the people. So I feel that we should make Jesus the center of our celebration. Live in accordance with what he's teaching, because you can celebrate Christmas without Christ, and you can do many things that is not Christmas. Buying of clothes, eating of food, coming together with friends, all these things are not bad, but that's not the center of Christmas. The center of Christmas is having a Christ-like life. You are supposed to follow his steps and live in his example. And if we live in the example of Christ, because we call him the Prince of Peace, definitely we will love peace with everybody. So Christ is the heart of Christmas. Other things are not bad. Visiting friends are not bad. Traveling is not bad. Eating is not bad. But let us not do that at the expense of a reflection on Jesus Christ and his commands, what he expects of us. And it is when we follow him that we are truly celebrating Christmas. So I believe that the people who miss their way are the people who leave Christ out of the Christmas. And it is possible to do that. But if Christ is at the center of our hearts, then all other things are secondary. And they are ways of also expressing the love that he expects us to express. So I want to encourage people, please go celebrate in modesty. Don't over-centralize yourself. Think of other people that are in need, people who are sick, people who are helpless. Think of them, visit them, share with them, give them your time, give them your money, give them of your substance. Let them also know that God cares for them, because God will not come down. He will send us as messengers to one another. So we should show love, especially to the helpless, the oppressed. Jesus came, he came to set the oppressed people free. Okay. And we should follow in his example.
Okay. Now, if you go to the media, traditional media, digital media, new media, you will find all kinds of messages, goodwill messages to Christians in Nigeria, the world over, on how best to celebrate Christmas. And just yesterday, the president and the vice president had demonstrated something to Nigerians. The vice president gave the president a gift that has to do with the constitutional amendments or thereabout, and they discussed the lessons and teachings of Jesus Christ, all in the spirit of Christmas. Now, as a Muslim Islamic cleric, what message do you have for Christians as we tie out this program?
See, it's very, the president and the vice president, they are representing the whole Nigeria, both here and diaspora. What they are doing, or what they did, is very correct, because it is not only the Muslim that voted for Mr. President and the Vice President. Both Muslims and the Christians voted for them. So they are representing the whole religion. So they must do what they did, and they should keep on doing it, because what they preach is, they told us that there should be no religious bigotry, there should be no crisis of interfaith whatsoever. So they have done really well. And you can see that even during the Eid al-Fitr, they'll still come and do the same to Mr. President. So that shows that unity is already there with them. And that is what other Christians should do to their fellow Christian brothers during this Christmas and the New Year to come. They should show that love to one another. It is not only preaching alone. Even when you visit somebody who is sick and you pray for that person. For example, now tomorrow you go to some hospitals, you see some people that are lying down there thinking that they will go home. But they need you. When you go to them and pray for them, they'll feel at home that, please, one day we'll live here for our own homes too. So that one is very important. We need to visit them. So visiting Mr. President or Vice President and other people, top government officials, is part of tradition that they have to be doing. And when they are doing that, they are really propagating love and harmony we are praying for in Nigeria. But if Mr. President says, I'm a Muslim, I don't want anybody to come to me, that shows he's not representing us. So what they demonstrated for us to do is for us, they have preached what we call peace, and everybody should go and learn from it. Both Muslims and the Christians should go and learn from it by saying that, okay, when I see my pastor tomorrow, we'll greet one another. When I see you tomorrow, we'll greet one another. See me too, we'll talk. That's Dr. Lafa just say, let me say hello to you. Assalamu alaikum. Then that one is part of what Nigerians have been doing for a very long time. If I take you back to 1960, you will see that Awolowo, Azikwe, Tafawa Balewa, all of them, they were all together. They did not discriminate.
I'm afraid I have to hold you there, Olaofe. Well, that's the much we can take on Tuesday Live tonight. We took 2 legs on the program tonight. Our first leg was on strengthening the security architecture in Nigeria, and our second leg has been on Christmas, peace, and national development. We believe while the 2 segments lasted, you learned a lot and you were properly updated on what is happening and how best to celebrate Christmas, even as a Christian, with your other brothers who are in need. It's a period of showing love and sharing. Well, on behalf of all of us, I must thank Reverend Israel Akonji, Chairman, Christian Association of Nigeria, North Central. Thank you so much for being on the program.
Thank you very much. Merry Christmas.
Musa Olaofe, Chief Imam, Ansarudeen Society of Nigeria, Wuse. It was good to have you on the program.
Thank you very much, sir.
For those who called, thank you for your calls and your concerns, and for those who sent in tweets, we appreciate you. If we could not take your tweets, please make time to be part of the program next week on Tuesday Live tonight. On behalf of all of us, we say a Merry Christmas and thanks for watching. Good morning.